Messed with my friend? Say goodbye to college. It started with an email. A single, insidious email that threatened to unravel everything Maya had worked for. I saw the notification pop up on her laptop screen. Academic integrity violation notice. As we were grabbing late-night pizza after a brutal coding session. Her face went white. Maya was brilliant. An artist, really. She could make lines of code, sing, dance, and create things I couldn't even imagine. She was also on a full scholarship to Boston University, a scholarship that meant everything to her. Her family had sacrificed so much to get her here. Failure wasn't an option. And now, this. Plagiarism, she whispered, the word catching in her throat. Professor Thorne is accusing me of plagiarizing the final project in advanced algorithms. Thorne. Just the name sent a shiver down my spine. He was a legend in the CS department, a brilliant researcher, and a notoriously demanding instructor. He also had a reputation for playing favorites. And Maya, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. I read the email. It was cold, clinical, and damning. Thorne claimed Maya's code bore a striking resemblance to a solution found on a specialized coding forum. A forum only a select few students used, the email stated. The penalty? Automatic failure of the course, suspension, and potential revocation of her scholarship. This is insane, I said, anger rising in my chest. You wouldn't plagiarize? You're better than that. Maya shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. But what if they think I did? What if I can't prove it? That's where I came in. I was Liam, Maya's best friend, and a pretty decent coder myself. I wasn't going to let Thorne railroad her without a fight. Show me the code, I said. Let's see what we're dealing with. We spent the next few hours dissecting her project. The algorithm itself was complex, involving some next-level dynamic programming. I knew Maya had struggled with it, but she'd poured her heart and soul into finding a solution. I'd seen her code, line by line, as it evolved. It's her style, I said, pointing to a particularly elegant section. Look at how she handles memory allocation. That's Maya all over. But something was off. The code was too polished, too perfect. There were parts that felt foreign, almost like two different coders had worked on it. This section here, I said, highlighting a block of code near the end. It's efficient, but it's not her. She would have approached this differently. That night, fueled by caffeine and righteous anger, I started digging. I downloaded the code submission from the university's server, risking my own neck in the process, and started analyzing the metadata. Timestamps, author information, code comments, anything that could give us a clue. The first thing I noticed was the creation date. The files associated with that foreign block of code had been modified significantly later than the rest of the project. That was strange. Maya worked on her project in iterations. Everything was organized properly, but this addition was after what the code looked to be completed. Okay, I said to Maya, who was watching me with wide, anxious eyes. This proves something fishy happened. Someone messed with your project. But who? And how? I knew I needed more information. I needed access to the university's network logs. I needed to see who had accessed Maya's account, and when. That was a serious breach of security, but I didn't see any other option. I called Sarah, my girlfriend. She was a pre-law student with connections to the university's legal department. She knew her way around the system, and she was fiercely loyal. Sarah, I need your help, I said, explaining the situation. I need to get access to the university's network logs. But if I get caught, it'll be bad, she finished for me. Real bad. But if Maya's innocent, then I have to do it, I said. Sarah didn't hesitate. All right, she said. I might know someone who can help. No promises, but I'll see what I can do. The next few days were agonizing. Maya was a mess. Her scholarship was temporarily suspended, and she was facing expulsion. Thorne, meanwhile, was acting like the righteous professor, lamenting the unfortunate situation and offering empty platitudes. I started asking around the CS department. I talked to other students who had taken Thorne's class. At first, everyone was tight-lipped. They were afraid of it. But slowly, stories started to emerge. stories of favoritism, of petty vindictiveness, of students being unfairly penalized for minor infractions. One student, a quiet kid named Ben, told me Thorne had once accused him of cheating on an exam, even though Ben had proof he was in the library at the time. Another student, a brilliant coder named Emily, said Thorne had stolen her research idea and presented it as his own at a conference. "He's a bully," Emily said, her voice trembling with anger. "He preys on students who he thinks won't fight back." That's when I realized this wasn't just about Maya. This was about a pattern of abuse, a system that allowed a powerful professor to get away with anything he wanted. With Sarah's help, I managed to get my hands on a section of the network logs. I worked through the night, sifting through mountains of data, looking for any trace of unauthorized access to Maya's account. And then I found it. At 3:17 a.m., on the night before the project was due, someone had accessed Maya's account from an IP address associated with Professor Thorne's office. They had opened her project file, made changes to the code, and then closed it. The smoking gun. "I got it," I yelled, waking Maya, who had fallen asleep on the couch. "I found proof that Thorne tampered with your project." Maya stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Are you sure?" "Positive," I said, showing her the logs. "He's the one who planted the plagiarized code." We now had undeniable proof that Thorne had framed Maya. But how were we going to use it? Going directly to the dean seemed risky. Thorne had a lot of influence, and I wasn't sure if the dean would believe us. That's when David, another member of our friend group, came up with a crazy idea. David wasn't a coder or a lawyer. He was a laid-back, easygoing guy who always seemed to know the right people. "The university is hosting a gala next week," David said. "All the big donors will be there. And the press. It's the perfect opportunity to expose Thorne." His plan was audacious. We would hack into the university's presentation system and project the evidence onto the big screen during Thorne's keynote speech. "It's insane," Maya said. "It's also our only chance." The next few days were a blur of planning and preparation. I wrote a script that would automatically display the network logs, the email accusing Maya of plagiarism, and a side-by-side comparison of her original code with the plagiarized version. David, using his connections, managed to get us access to the gala's technical setup. Sarah prepared a statement for the press, outlining the evidence and accusing Thorne of abuse of power. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was filled with wealthy donors, distinguished faculty, and members of the media. Thorne was on stage, droning on about the future of computer science, his voice booming through the speakers. I was backstage, my heart pounding in my chest. David gave me a nod. It was time. I launched the script. The university's presentation system went haywire. Thorne's slides were replaced with our evidence. The network logs, the email, the code comparison. It was all there, in glaring detail. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Thorne stopped speaking, his face turning red with anger. "What is the meaning of this?" he roared, pointing at the screen. I stepped out from behind the curtain. "Professor Thorne," I said, my voice amplified by the microphone. "You falsely accused Maya of plagiarism, you tampered with her code, and you abused your power to try and ruin her life." Thorne launched into a tirade, denying everything, calling me a liar, a hacker, a disgruntled student. But the evidence was overwhelming. Sarah stepped forward, handing copies of her press statement to the reporters in the audience. David, meanwhile, had alerted a digital forensics expert who had examined the data prior and was on standby, ready to confirm its authenticity. The university president rushed onto the stage, trying to regain control of the situation, but it was too late. The damage was done. The next day, the story was everywhere. Local news, national news, online forums. Everyone was talking about Professor Thorne and his alleged misconduct. The university announced that Thorne had been suspended pending an investigation. Maya's scholarship was immediately reinstated, and she received a public apology from the university. Other students, emboldened by our actions, started coming forward with their own stories of Thorne's abuse. The university was forced to launch a broader investigation into his behavior. A few weeks later, Thorne was fired. His reputation was shattered. He was even facing potential legal charges for falsifying evidence and defamation. Maya graduated with honors and landed the dream job at a cutting-edge design firm. She thanked me, of course, but I knew she would have succeeded with or without my help. She was just that talented. As for me, I faced some consequences for my actions. The university issued a formal reprimand for hacking into their systems, but the general sentiment was positive. Many students and faculty members privately thanked me for standing up to Thorn. In the end, it was worth it. We had exposed a bully, protected a friend, and helped to create a more just system. But I also knew that the fight for justice was never truly over. There would always be people like Thorn, abusing their power and preying on the vulnerable. And there would always be a need for people willing to stand up and fight back.